لقد كفر الذين قالوا إن الله هو المسيح ابن مريم قل فمن يملك من الله شيئا إن أراد أن يهلك المسيح ابن مريم وأمه ومن في الأرض جميعا ولله ملك السماوات والأرض وما بينهما يخلق ما يشاء والله على كل شيء قدير.
Indeed, those who said, Christ, peace be upon him, the Son of Mary, he is indeed God, disbelieved. Say, O Muhammad, peace be upon him, who could have overruled Allah had he so willed to destroy Christ, peace be upon him, the Son of Mary, and his mother, and all those who are on earth? For to Allah belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth, and all that is between them. He creates what he wills. Allah is all-powerful. Indeed, those who said, Christ, peace be upon him, the Son of Mary, he is indeed God, disbelieved. The original mistake committed by the Christians in declaring Jesus, peace be upon him, to be a combination of human and divine essences turned Jesus, peace be upon him, into a mystery for them. And the more the Christian scholars tried to solve this mystery by resorting to conjecture and rhetorical extravagance, the more involved the whole matter became. Those who were more impressed by the humanity of Jesus, peace be upon him, stressed his being the Son of God and considered him to be one of the three gods. Those who were more impressed by the divinity of Jesus, peace be upon him, considered him to be none other than God, stressing that he was the human incarnation of God and worshipped him as a god. Those who tried to strike a middle path spent all their efforts hammering out subtle verbal formulations of the Trinity that would allow people to consider the Messiah to be God and man at one and the same time, to affirm that God and the Messiah are independent and simultaneously constitute an inseparable whole, and all that is between them. He creates what he wills. This statement hints at the childishness of those who have been misled into believing that the Messiah himself is God, either because of his miraculous birth, or because of his flawless moral character, or because of the miracles which he performed. The Messiah is merely a sign of the innumerable wonders of God's creation, a sign which somehow dazzled the eyes of those superficial people. Had their perception been wider, they would have been able to see that there are even more inspiring examples of his creation and infinite power. If anything, their attitude was indicative of the intellectual puerility of those who were so overawed by the excellence of a creature as to mistake him for the Creator. Those whose intelligence penetrates through the excellence of creatures, who look upon them merely as signs of the magnificent power of God, and who are led by such observations to a reinforcement of faith in the Creator, are truly wise.
وقالت اليهود والنصارى نحن أبناء الله وأحباؤه قل فلم يعذبكم بذنوبكم بل أنتم بشر ممن خلق يغفر لمن يشاء ويعذب من يشاء ولله ملك السماوات والأرض وما بينهما وإليه المصير.
The Jews and the Christians say, "We are Allah's children and His beloved ones." Ask them, why then does He chastise you for your sins? You are the same as other men He has created. He forgives whom He wills and chastises whom He wills. And to Allah belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth and all that is between them. To Him is the eventual return.
يا أهل الكتاب قد جاءكم رسولنا يبين لكم على فترة من الرسل أن تقولوا ما جاءكم بشير ولا نذير فقد جاءكم بشير ونذير والله على كل شيء قدير.
People of the book, after a long interlude during which no messengers have appeared, there has come to you our messenger to elucidate the teaching of the true faith, lest you say, no bearer of glad tidings and no warner has come to us. For now there indeed has come to you a bearer of glad tidings and a warner. Allah is all-powerful.
For now there indeed has come to you a bearer of glad tidings and a warner. Allah is all-powerful.
In the present context, this sentence is extremely eloquent and subtle. It signifies that the same God who had sent warners and bearers of glad tidings to men in the past has now sent Muhammad, peace be upon him, with the same task. At the same time, it also means that they should not treat the message of this warner and bearer of glad tidings lightly. They should bear in mind that if they disregard the injunctions of God, He can chastise them as He wills, for He is all-powerful and almighty.
وَإِذْ قَالَ مُوسَى لِقَوْمِهِ يَا قَوْمِ اذْكُرُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ إذ جعل فيكم أنبياء وجعلكم ملوكا وآتاكم ما لم يؤت أحدا من العالمين.
Remember when Moses, peace be upon him, said to his people, My people, remember Allah's favor upon you when He raised prophets amongst you and appointed you rulers and granted to you what He had not granted to anyone else in the world, and appointed you rulers and granted to you what He had not granted to anyone else in the world. This refers to the glory the Israelites enjoyed before the time of Moses, peace be upon him. There had appeared among them such great prophets such as Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph, peace be upon them. Moreover, from the time of Joseph, peace be upon him, they were able to achieve very considerable power and authority in Egypt. For a considerable period, they were the greatest rulers of the civilized world, reigning supreme in Egypt and the surrounding territories. People are generally inclined to regard the time of Moses, peace be upon him, as the starting point for the rise of the Israelites. The Quran, however, states categorically that the truly glorious period of their history had passed long before Moses, peace be upon him, and that Moses, peace be upon him, himself drew the attention of his people to that period as their time of glory.
يا قوم ادخلوا الأرض المقدسة التي كتب الله لكم ولا ترتدوا على أدباركم فتنقلبوا خاسرين.
My people, enter the Holy Land which Allah has ordained for you, and do not turn back, for then you will turn about losers. Enter the Holy Land which Allah has ordained for you.
This signifies Palestine, which had been the homeland of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, peace be upon them. After their exodus from Egypt, God ordered the Israelites to go forth to Egypt and conquer it.
And do not turn back, for then you will turn about losers.
This statement of Moses refers to the second year after they had come out of Egypt, when he and his people lived in tents in the wilderness of Paran. This desert lies in the Sinai Peninsula, adjacent to the northern borders of Arabia and the southern borders of Palestine.
قالوا يا موسى إن فيها قوما جبارين وإنا لن ندخلها حتى يخرجوا منها فإن يخرجوا منها فإنا داخلون.
They answered, Moses, peace be upon him, therein live a ferocious people. We will not enter unless they depart from it. But if they do depart from it, then we will surely enter it.
قال رجلان من الذين يخافون أنعم الله عليهم ادخلوا عليهم الباب فإذا دخلتموه فإنكم غالبون وعلى الله فتوكلوا إن كنتم مؤمنين.
Two from among these who were frightened, but upon whom Allah had bestowed His favor, said, Enter upon them through the gate, for if you do enter, you will be the victors. And put your trust in Allah, if indeed you are men of faith.
But upon whom Allah had bestowed His favor, said.
This could have two meanings. Either that two of those who feared the high-handed people of the Promised Land made that statement, or that two of those who feared God did so.
قالوا يا موسى إنا لن ندخلها أبدا ما داموا فيها فاذهب أنت وربك فقاتلا إنا هاهنا قاعدون.
Nevertheless, they said, O Moses, peace be upon him, never shall we enter it as long as they are there. Go forth then, you and your Lord, and fight, both of you. As for us, we will sit here.
قال رب إني لا أملك إلا نفسي وأخي فافرق بيننا وبين القوم الفاسقين.
Thereupon Moses, peace be upon him, said, My Lord, I have control over none but my own self and my brother. So distinguish between us and the transgressing people.
قال فإنها محرمة عليهم 40 سنة يتيهون في الأرض فلا تأس على القوم الفاسقين.
Allah said, This land will now be forbidden to them for 40 years, and they will remain wandering about on the earth. Do not grieve over the condition of these transgressing people. Allah said, This land will now be forbidden to them for 40 years, and they will remain wandering about on the earth. The details of this incident are found in the Bible in Numbers, Deuteronomy, and Joshua. The essence of the story is that Moses, peace be upon him, sent 12 heads of Israel to spy out Palestine. They returned after 40 days and said, We came to the land to which you sent us. It flows with milk and honey. Yet the people who dwell in the land are strong, and the cities are fortified and very large. And besides, we saw the descendants of Anak there, and all the people that we saw in it are men of great stature. And there we saw the Nephilim, the sons of Anak, who come from the Nephilim. And we seemed to ourselves like grasshoppers, and so we seemed to them. Then all the congregation cried out, Would that we had died in the land of Egypt, or would that we had died in this wilderness. Why does the Lord bring us into this land to fall by the sword? Our wives and our little ones will become a prey. Would it not be better for us to go back to Egypt? At this, they were censured for cowardice by 2 of the 12 heads who had spied out Palestine, Joshua and Caleb. Caleb suggested that they should go and seize Palestine. Then both of them said, If the Lord delights in us, He will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land which flows with milk and honey. Only do not rebel against the Lord, and do not fear the people of the land, for the Lord is with us. Do not fear them. Numbers 14:1-9. But the congregation responded to this by crying out that both ought to be stoned. This so provoked the wrath of God that He commanded that their bodies would fall dead in the wilderness, that all of their numbers numbered from 20 years old and upward, who had murmured against Him. None would come into the promised land except Caleb and Joshua, that only after an entire generation had passed away and a new generation had sprung up would they be enabled to conquer Palestine. Because of this divine decree, it took the people of Israel 38 years to reach Transjordan from Paran.
During this period, all those who had left Egypt in their youth had perished. After the conquest of Transjordan, Moses, peace be upon him, died. Later on, during the caliphate of Joshua, the Israelites became capable of conquering Palestine.
Do not grieve over the condition of these transgressing people.
The purpose of referring to this event becomes clear if we reflect upon the context. This by crying out that both ought to be stoned. This so provoked the wrath of God that He commanded that their bodies would fall dead in the wilderness, that all of their numbers numbered from 20 years old and upward, who had murmured against Him. None would come into the promised land except Caleb and Joshua, that only after an entire generation had passed away and a new generation had sprung up would they be enabled to conquer Palestine. Because of this divine decree, it took the people of Israel 38 years to reach Transjordan from Paran. During this period, all those who had left Egypt in their youth had perished. After the conquest of Transjordan, Moses, peace be upon him, died. Later on, during the caliphate of Joshua, the Israelites became capable of conquering Palestine.
Do not grieve over the condition of these transgressing people.
The purpose of referring to this event becomes clear if we reflect upon the context. It seems to be to bring home to the Israelites that the punishment to which they would be subjected if they adopted a rebellious attitude towards Muhammad, peace be upon him, would be even more severe than the one to which they had been subjected in the time of Moses.
واتل عليهم نبأ ابني آدم بالحق إذ قربا قربانا فتقبل من أحدهما ولم يتقبل من الآخر قال لأقتلنك قال إنما يتقبل الله من المتقين.
Narrate to them in all truth the story of the two sons of Adam, peace be upon him. When they made an offering, and it was accepted from one of them, and it was not accepted from the other, the latter said, I will surely kill you. Thereupon the former said, Allah accepts offerings only from the God-fearing. Thereupon the former said, Allah accepts offerings only from the God-fearing. God's refusal to accept the sacrifice of one of the two brothers was not due to any wrong the other brother might have committed, but to his own lack of piety. Hence, rather than attempt to kill his brother, he should be concerned with cultivating piety.
لئن بسطت إلي يدك لتقتلني ما أنا بباسط يدي إليك لأقتلك إني أخاف الله رب العالمين.
Even if you stretch forth your hand against me to kill, I will not stretch forth my hand to kill you. Surely, I fear Allah, the Lord of the entire universe.
I will not stretch forth my hand to kill you.
This does not mean that his brother assured him that when the latter stepped forward to kill him, he would keep his hands tied and stretched out, his own neck to be cut down rather than defend himself. What this statement amounts to is an assurance on the part of the first brother that, even though the other was intent on killing him, he himself had no such intention. In other words, he assured his brother that even though the latter was busy planning his murder, he would not take the initiative in killing him despite his knowledge of the latter's intent. Righteousness does not demand at all that when a man is subjected to wrongful aggression, he should surrender to the aggressor rather than defend himself. Righteousness, however, demands a man should not take the initiative and try to kill someone even though he knows him to be bent on killing him. He should rather wait for the act of aggression to be initiated by the other person. And this is exactly what was intended by the statement of the righteous son of Adam, peace be upon him.
إني أريد أن تبوء بإثمي وإثمك فتكون من أصحاب النار وذلك جزاء الظالمين.
I would desire that you be laden with my sin and with your sin, and thus become among the inmates of the fire. That indeed is the right recompense of the wrongdoers.
I would desire that you be laden with my sin and with your own sin.
The righteous son of Adam told his brother that rather than both of them becoming sinners by trying to kill each other, he would prefer to see the entire sin fall on the lot of the one who was intent on the murderer, the sin of the aggressor's attempt to murder, as well as the sin of any injury that might be inflicted on him in self-defense.
فطوعت له نفسه قتل أخيه فقتله فأصبح من الخاسرين.
At last, his evil soul drove him to the murder of his brother, and he killed him, whereby he himself became one of the losers.
فبعث الله غرابا يبحث في الأرض ليريه كيف يواري سوءة أخيه قال يا ويلتى أعجزت أن أكون مثل هذا الغراب فأواري سوءة أخي فأصبح من النادمين.
Thereupon Allah sent forth a raven who began to scratch the earth to show him how he might cover the corpse of his brother. So seeing, he cried, "Woe unto me! Was I unable even to be like this raven and find a way to cover the corpse of my brother?" Then he became full of remorse at his doing. And find a way to cover the corpse of my brother?
In this way, God made this errant son of Adam, peace be upon him, realize his ignorance and folly. Once his attention turned to self-appraisal, his regret was not confined to realizing that in his effort to hide his brother's corpse, he proved to be even less efficient than the raven. He also began to feel how foolish he was to have killed his own brother. The latter part of the sentence indicates this remorse.
Then he became full of remorse at his doing.
The purpose of mentioning this particular incident is to reproach the Jews subtly for the plot they had hatched to assassinate the Prophet, peace be upon him, and some of his illustrious companions. The resemblance between the two incidents is evident. God honored some of the illiterate people of Arabia and disregarded the ancient people of the book because the former were pious while the latter were not. But rather than reflect upon the causes of their rejection by God and do something to overcome the failings which had led to that rejection, the Israelites were seized by the same fit of arrogant ignorance and folly which had once seized the criminal son of Adam, peace be upon him, and resolved to kill those whose good deeds had been accepted by God. It was obvious that such acts would contribute nothing towards their acceptance by God. They would rather earn them an even greater degree of God's disapproval.